The ocean is stirring. Under the thick black waters of the deep sea and big rivers, things that were once sleeping are starting to thrash, rise up, and quietly watch. The Amazon is churning, cold lakes are shaking. Dark swamps suddenly show unusual movements. Can you feel it? The underwater world seems like it won't stay silent anymore. From Brazil to Georgia, 7 strange phenomena are showing up one by one, trailing along, challenging human reason. Nameless creatures, half familiar and half strange, emerging right when humanity is most lost. But these things the Bible warned about long ago. Beasts will rise from the sea, and now, with the signs no longer hidden, a haunting question echoes. Could those creatures be messengers from the abyss, calling for the doom that's coming? So don't miss this, because the info below will make you ponder, get chills, and wonder if humanity's time is running short or not. Now let's dive in with me to check out each phenomenon, starting with 1. A massive herd of snakes moving under the Amazon River. Deep in the Amazon basin, the biggest river system on Earth, something is happening that leaves even seasoned researchers speechless. Under the murky water, where light barely reaches, a wave of life is on the move. It's not fish or swirling currents, but hundreds of huge bodies twisting together, slithering along, pressed close like one single creature, coming awake. The Amazon stretches more than 4,000 miles through the thick jungles of Brazil, where people are just passing visitors. Here, life and death go hand in hand quietly. But this time, what's rising up isn't the usual cycle of nature. A military drone scanning a remote stretch of river caught footage that sends chills down your spine. Below the surface, hundreds of anacondas, up to 30 feet long, are tangled together, moving as one in a smooth, eerie rhythm. They're not hunting, not separating, not in chaos. The whole massive group curves and rises and dips, like it's following some unseen command. Many think this could be a breeding area, but no records show a gathering this large or this perfectly in sync. The images quickly reminded some believers of ancient prophecies. In Isaiah 27:1, the Bible talks about Leviathan, the fleeing serpent, the twisting serpent that God will punish in the last days. Revelation 12:9 calls it the ancient dragon, the one who deceives the whole world. And in Job 41, Leviathan is described as a creature no human can tame, pull up, or control. Is what we're seeing coiling under the Amazon just a coincidence? Of course, scientists were quick to weigh in. They say it's likely migration due to climate change or a rare natural behavior. But the thing is, the video shows near-perfect coordination, the kind wild animals almost never achieve. Those plain explanations don't quite touch what really unsettles people, the feeling that something is waking up. When you put this alongside the bigger picture in the Bible, many believe it's more than just biology. It's a sign of ancient forces stirring, of chaos allowed to show itself before the final stage. The Amazon, the river of life, has now become a place where darkness thrashes in silence. And if that herd of snakes isn't just gathering and then fading away, if they keep searching, spreading, swallowing everything in their path, the scariest question still hangs there. Could those movements deep in the Amazon be the first whisper of Leviathan rising from the depths? 2. A human-like creature with a fishtail in the Moroke River. The video showed up out of nowhere, but in just a few hours, it shook up the whole internet. An amateur diver was filming underwater in the calm current when he suddenly caught sight of something that didn't look like any ordinary creature. It didn't dart away in panic or try to hide. Instead, it swam around slowly, almost like it knew it was being watched. The Moroke River is a remote spot in Asia, a freshwater river as deep as 100 feet, and hardly anyone ever goes there. That isolation has kept it pretty much off the scientific map. Down in the dark water, light gets swallowed up fast, creating a quiet but heavy pressure where every movement feels strange. And that's exactly where this creature appeared. Not just a quick glimpse, but long enough to give viewers chills. The footage shows the upper body looking human, with clear shoulders, head, and arms, while the lower part is a long fishtail covered in scales, moving smoothly. The hands have webs between the fingers, waving gracefully in the water. What really got to a lot of people is how it swam right alongside dolphins, like old friends. No chasing them off, no avoiding them. Just think about it. If this was only an illusion, why did everything look so smooth and real? Right away, heated arguments broke out. Science says it might be an underwater hallucination or a dolphin distorted by the camera angle. But the video is clear. The movements seem deliberate, and especially the body structure doesn't match any known species. The safe explanations don't seem strong enough to ease the growing unease. When you look at this through the lens of the Bible, many folks start connecting it to Genesis 6-4, which talks about the Nephilim, hybrid beings that showed up when the natural order got broken. In Daniel 7-3 and Revelation 13-1, different beasts rise from the sea, bringing power and deception. In the Bible, seas and rivers are never just water. They're places of chaos where things beyond human control are born. If these hybrid creatures existed in the past, the scary question is, did they really vanish? Or are they just hiding, waiting for the right moment to show themselves again? The video from the Muroke River has a lot of people believing the line between myth and reality is getting thinner every day. This isn't just a shocking image, it's a sign of something deeper going wrong. And if that creature isn't alone, if there are more like it down there, quietly watching, quietly getting closer, the whole picture becomes more terrifying than ever. Will they stay hidden in the dark? Or will they slowly lure people down into the depths, swallowing souls in silence? And that final question still hangs there, like a warning. Who will be the next victim? 3. Ghostly faces rising from the river. They're not full creatures, not clear bodies, just faces. That's what makes this whole thing so creepy, more than anything else. A security camera set up by the riverbank, meant only to track water levels and movement at night, ended up catching something nobody wants to see. On the slightly shaky screen, the water suddenly bulges, and then these blurry faces slowly rise out of the darkness. That river doesn't have a name or any real landmarks. It's just described as about 50 feet deep, with muddy water all year round. It's the kind of river where light never reaches the bottom, where mud and trash build up into their own little world. In the daytime, it looks harmless enough, but after dark, the surface turns into a twisted mirror, showing things that don't belong up here. In the video, the faces don't come all the way up like a person swimming. They just hover, half submerged, with frozen expressions like masks and empty eyes staring straight at the camera. There's no sound, no big splashes, just this feeling that something down there is watching you. Then, one by one, the faces slowly sink back down and vanish, like they were never there. A lot of people who watch the video keep rewinding it, not to spot details, but because of this uneasy feeling they can't quite name. Put yourself in that spot for a second. If you knew something under that familiar water was looking back at you, would you still stand there? Or would you turn away fast and pretend you didn't see a thing? The skeptics jumped right in, of course. They said it was just a camera glitch, light reflections, or some kind of distortion. But when you look frame by frame, the movements are clearly their own. These faces aren't drifting with the current or changing randomly. They show up on purpose, like they're choosing the moment to appear. Science can explain light tricks, but it can't explain those expressions. When people started comparing it to the Bible, things got chilling. Revelation 16:13 talks about unclean spirits coming out of the mouth of the dragon and the beast. Revelation 9:3 describes beings given power, rising from smoke and the abyss. And in Psalm 69:1-2, water isn't just a natural thing anymore, it's a picture of the deep swallowing the soul, dragging a person down into despair. Put those verses next to the video, and a scary idea starts to take shape. Maybe these aren't flesh and blood creatures at all, but unclean spirits, things trapped at the bottom of the deep, now allowed to surface in these troubled times. They don't attack right away, don't make noise, they just watch, like they're waiting for something bigger. If those faces aren't a one-time thing, if they quietly rise and sink back every night, then the final question hits harder than ever. When darkness falls and the water goes calm again, are they still down there looking up at you, waiting for just the right moment to call out and pull you into that everlasting darkness with no way back? 4. Reptile attack in Canada. It all happened so fast that anyone watching couldn't even figure out what just went down. The video starts out like any other swimming clip. Calm water on the surface, steady breathing, just the soft sound of water splashing. But a few seconds later, that quiet gets ripped apart. From down below, a dark shape shoots straight up and fills the whole screen. A scream gets cut off short. The video ends suddenly, leaving this cold, empty feeling with no explanation. That lake is in Canada, about 60 feet deep, known for water so cold it numbs you even in summer. It's not some remote wilderness spot. It's a place lots of folks go to swim and relax, thinking it's perfectly safe. But under that clear water, the chill isn't just from the temperature. It's from whatever's hiding down there, waiting for the right moment to strike. The last frame anybody caught shows part of a body that looks distinctly reptilian. Jerky movements, rough edges, nothing like a fish or any creature people know from around there. This thing didn't swim around or stalk for long. It attacked head-on, like it had already picked its target. The scariest part isn't really the shape. It's the clear intent you see in that split second. As soon as the video spread, the usual explanations popped up. Some said it was just a stray alligator. Others figured the swimmer panicked and imagined it. But people who know biology quickly pointed out what doesn't add up. Canada isn't natural habitat for alligators, and the movement in the video doesn't match any known reptile. The skeptical take sound reasonable, but they dodge the big question. Why was the attack so sudden and dead on? Job 41 once asked straight out about Leviathan, a creature humans can't control or tame. Psalm 74-14 talks about God crushing the heads of Leviathan, showing its real power and threat. And in Isaiah 27-1, Leviathan is called the fleeing serpent, the twisting serpent, punished on the day of judgment. Those descriptions aren't random, and they sure aren't just for entertainment. If Leviathan isn't only a symbol, but stands for ancient forces under the water, then that moment in the Canadian lake means something a whole lot scarier. It's not just a one-off incident. It's a warning sign. A warning that things once locked away are getting bolder, less hidden, ready to show their power in our world. What really unsettles people most isn't what's in the video. It's the silence afterward. No word from the swimmer. No ending to the story. Just the calm lake surface again, like nothing ever happened. But if that creature is still prowling the cold depths, the question isn't hypothetical anymore. When darkness falls and the water closes over you, would you dare swim alone, knowing something down there is waiting to shatter the peace? 5. Human-like creature emerges at Lake Titisee, Germany. That morning at Lake Titisee started with complete silence. The water was flat as glass, a thin mist crawling low over the surface, swallowing sounds and distances. Two brothers were fishing when they noticed something strange. The water wasn't rippling, but something was rising. No noise, no bubbles, just a shape breaking through from the depths to the surface. The creature rose straight up, chest and above, as if gravity didn't apply to it. Its skin was pale, bluish-white, reflecting the dim, early light, in a way that felt ice-cold and suffocating. Its eyes were completely black, no pupils, no familiar spark of life, just empty voids staring back at the men. What really terrified the brothers wasn't just the appearance. The moment the creature showed up, their electronic devices started acting up. The camera shook hard, the signal got noisy, batteries drained for no reason. The video lasted exactly 6 minutes and 66 seconds, a number that anyone familiar with the Bible can't ignore. Then everything suddenly cut out, like an invisible hand had crushed the technology. Lake Titisee sits in Germany's Black Forest, covering about half a square mile and reaching down 130 feet. It's tied to old legends, whispered stories about water spirits that never left. When the creature appeared, the lake stayed perfectly still, not a single ripple, as if the water itself was holding its breath in fear of what had come up from the bottom. Skeptics were quick to explain it away. Thick fog, optical illusion, tired eyes. But they couldn't account for why all the electronics failed at once, or why the creature's expression looked so lifeless, nothing like any staged hoax. Science might explain the image, but it stays quiet about the chill down your spine that the video leaves behind. When you compare it to the Bible, the pieces start fitting together in a frightening way. Genesis 6-4 talks about the Nephilim, beings that were part human, part something else, living in the chaotic time before the Great Flood. Revelation 9-7 describes creatures with faces like men, but a completely different nature. And Daniel 7-3 says it plain. Great beasts will rise from the sea, signaling the changing of ages. What was this thing? Could it be an evil spirit rising from the deep, stepping into our world when the boundary is thinnest? It didn't attack, didn't speak, just appeared, watched, then vanished, like a reminder that a time of chaos is drawing near. The scariest part is that the creature didn't truly disappear. It just quietly sank back down to the dark bottom where no light reaches. If those black eyes are still open down there in the darkness, is it waiting for another lost soul to come close to the water's edge? When night falls and Lake Titusee goes perfectly quiet again, would you dare stand there a long time, knowing something might be watching you from below, with a stare that swallows the last bit of light? 6. Humanoid creature with net-cutting fins off the Spanish coast. The night sea off Spain doesn't roar, it whispers. The dark water lies heavy and quiet, broken only by the steady hum of the boat's engine and the scrape of the nets against the wooden hull. These seasoned fishermen had no idea that in the next moment, something was about to shatter every familiar rule of the ocean. When the heavy net was hauled up from nearly 200 feet down, the boat suddenly lurched hard. It wasn't fish. It wasn't a reef. A strong, deliberate pull yanked the net back toward the deep. The cables stretched tight, almost ready to snap, and then a shape rose out of the water, gripping the net with webbed hands. The creature looked humanoid, but long, sharp fins ran down its body, quivering with every move. Its wet, dark skin caught the boat's lights, not like fish scales, not like human skin either. It pulled hard, twisting the net as if testing what men could handle, then ripped everything apart with one fierce jerk before vanishing into the darkness below. That moment lasted only a few seconds, but it froze everyone on board. Up on deck, nobody could speak. The net lay torn to shreds, like it had met a living machine. The fishermen swore they saw the creature's eyes, calm and clear, not panicked, not angry, like it knew exactly what it was doing. When the story got out, the skeptics brushed it off fast. A big shark, they said. Old net, they figured. But no shark has webbed hands that grab and pull and tear, and no equipment failure fights back with that kind of rhythm. Once again, the voices of men who've spent their lives on the water were ignored. Revelation 13:1 talks about a beast rising from the sea, carrying power and terror beyond human understanding. Daniel 7:3 says, "These beasts are different, nothing we can fit into the usual patterns." And Job 41:31 describes the Leviathan churning the deep like boiling water, as if the ocean is no longer a safe place. Put this event against those old words, and the picture gets frighteningly clear. This wasn't just some strange animal. It was a sign of the beast coming up from the sea. Just like the ancient warning said, it wasn't caught, wasn't fully recorded, just passed through human lives like a short but heavy message. And what keeps the fear alive isn't the attack, it's the way it left. The creature wasn't beaten or chased off. It slipped back down on its own, free, carrying power no one has measured, roaming the vast ocean floor. If even a thick net couldn't hold it, what happens when people become the next target? As something dark rises from the deep, will your net, or your faith, be strong enough to stand against whatever's waiting down there? 7. Swamp critters in Okefenokee, Georgia. The Okefenokee swamp isn't loud or wild. It just covers everything with a thick, sticky quiet that makes it hard to breathe easy. Fog drifts slowly over the murky water, and the trees twist like old, gnarled arms waiting for something. In that scene, a man in a boat lifts his camera, not knowing he's about to catch something that would shake up a whole community. Out of the calm water, a dark black head rises up. No ripples, no sound, no splash. Just a shadowy shape appearing right as the camera swings toward it, like it knew it was being watched. When the boat turns, the head quietly moves with it, staying just far enough away to keep its shape hidden. The Okefenokee covers about 438,000 acres, and the water's only 10 to 20 feet deep, shallow enough to see vague shadows below, murky enough to hide what's really there. The creature doesn't come fully up or sink completely down. It drifts alongside, matching the boat's speed perfectly, giving that long, breathless feeling of being followed. People quickly think alligator, but the movement doesn't match. Alligators glide, lunge, pull back. This was different. It stops when the boat stops, backs up when the boat backs up, keeps its gaze steady even when the camera shakes. No normal instinct, no usual hunting behavior, just cold, careful calculation. The Bible warned about things like this. Revelation 11:7 talks about the beast that comes up from the abyss, not randomly, only when the time is right. Luke 21:25 describes people in confusion before the sea roars and the waves crash, fear spreading faster than any disaster. Revelation 9:11 names the ruler of the abyss, Abaddon, the destroyer, who doesn't need noise to spread terror. Scientists rush to call it a local animal. Theories come up, debates start, then quickly end. What gets ignored is the part that really chills people. The feeling of being watched, on purpose. Not a chance meeting, not a random run-in, more like a quiet, deliberate check. When you put this together with things that happened before, creatures from the ocean, things from rivers, mixed shapes, now this swamp beast rising from still, dark water, a symbol of the lightless deep. These aren't separate stories anymore. They feel like a warning coming together. The boat left the swamp, the video ended, and the creature vanished. But Okefenokee is still there, darker when night falls. Whatever's hiding under that cloudy water hasn't gone anywhere. It waits, patient, for the moment someone lets their guard down. When you step too close to the edge, what might rise up behind you and pull you into the darkness forever? We just went through 7 strange creatures caught on camera under the water. Which one scared you the most? We just looked at 7 mysterious creatures filmed on camera. Do you think those were messages that God deliberately placed to warn humanity? 7 phenomena, 7 places, 7 moments that seem unrelated, but when you put them side by side, they form a chilling pattern spreading across the world. From the Amazon River churning with giant anacondas to the Okefenokee swamp, where a dark head quietly rises to watch people, they all start from the same place: deep water. Not the desert, not high mountains, not the sky. These creatures are rising from rivers, lakes, oceans, and swamps, like some ancient door is opening beneath the surface. The Amazon in Brazil, Muroke in Asia, a cold lake in Canada, Titusee in Germany's Black Forest, the coast of Spain, Okefenokee in Georgia. The distance between them doesn't stop this rhythm of rising at the same time. Look at each one alone, and it's easy to call it random. Look at the big picture, and the timing becomes scary. The movements seem deliberate. The eyes know how to watch. The shapes don't fit normal biology. They appear and vanish right on cue. A wave of strange creatures is surfacing from the water together, as if some unseen command is being turned on. The Bible has warned about this for a long time. In Revelation, the sea isn't a peaceful symbol anymore. It's where destructive power comes from. Revelation 13:1 says, "And I saw a beast coming up out of the sea, having 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns. And on its heads were blasphemous names." That beast isn't just one thing. It's a system, a power rising from chaos. Along with the beast is Leviathan, a symbol of ancient power locked away in the deep. Isaiah 27:1 says, "In that day, the Lord with his hard and great and strong sword will punish Leviathan the fleeing serpent, Leviathan the twisting serpent, and he will slay the dragon that is in the sea." Leviathan isn't some harmless myth. It's a picture of chaos held back until the end times. What's happening in the world today matches that picture exactly. It's not just strange creatures. It's restless seas, extreme weather, trouble spreading everywhere. Luke 21:25 warns plainly, "There will be signs in the sun and moon and stars, and on the earth distress among nations, confused by the roaring of the sea and the waves." When the waters aren't calm, people lose their footing too. These 7 phenomena aren't just frightening, they're wake-up calls. They make us look down at what's been forgotten, the deep. Down there, things that were once locked away are stirring, creatures that aren't fully animal and aren't fully human, reminding us of the days of the Nephilim, when the boundaries of creation were crossed. Jesus warned that the end times wouldn't just come with wars or famine, but with clever deception. Matthew 24:24 says, "For false Christs and false prophets will arise and perform great signs and wonders, so as to deceive, if possible, even the elect. Not every sign comes from God." Revelation goes on to describe that false power. Revelation 13:13 says, "It performs great signs, even making fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people." When people get caught up in the strange and miraculous, it's easy to mix up real power with fake displays. Creatures rising from the water aren't just terrifying, they're preparing minds to accept the wrong thing. Put these 7 phenomena together, and you see a clear progression. From group movements, to hybrid shapes, to watching, attacking, then lurking. Each step goes deeper into darkness. It's no longer random appearances, it's a building chain, just like the Bible describes before the Antichrist appears. What's important is that the Bible didn't write these things to cause panic. They were written as a final reminder. The signs aren't meant to scare us, they're meant to wake us up. When Leviathan stirs the deep sea, when the beast rises from the abyss, that's the time to look at ourselves. That warning comes with a clear call. Repent, stay alert, discern. Don't chase after the strange. Don't worship false power. Don't fall asleep in what's familiar. The end times, according to the Bible, don't come with one big bang. They come with a rush of signs, each one peeling back another layer. The 7 pictures are done, but the story isn't over. The water is still deep. The sea is still restless. The swamp still waits in silence. As the signs get clearer, the question isn't, "Is this real?" anymore. It's, "How will we respond?" Because like the Bible warned, the end times don't come as a surprise. They come to test our hearts. 7 phenomena have passed before our eyes, like 7 cold waves rising up from the deep, quiet but strong enough to shake what we think we know. From rivers, lakes, oceans to swamps, they all come together as a serious reminder. These aren't just stories for fun, they're warnings from God, calling people to wake up their faith and get ready for Judgment Day. When we look at the whole picture, what stays with us isn't just fear, but responsibility. These signs weren't given to make us panic, but to help us see clearly, stay awake, and change our ways. The Bible keeps repeating that message. Let those who have ears hear, and those who have eyes see. Because the end times won't come in total darkness. They'll come with clear warnings. So the most important thing isn't hunting for strange creatures. It's turning back to God's Word. Open the Bible. Compare what's happening now with what was foretold so we don't get carried away by fear or false miracles. This is the time to pray more, repent more honestly, and put our full trust in the Lord, the only one who has power over every deep. If those images just now made you uneasy, remember, their purpose isn't to kill hope. On the contrary, they're an invitation to get back on the right path before all the doors close. Time isn't endless anymore, and the choices we make today shape what comes tomorrow. Getting ready doesn't start with big actions. It starts with a heart that's willing to listen. We hope this video series helps you see the world in a deeper, more serious way, and closer to the Bible. If you feel these insights are worthwhile, please hit like, share, so others don't miss this important wake-up call, and subscribe to the channel to keep journeying with us in the next videos, where the signs will be even more shocking and clearer. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. We hope each of us leaves this video with a question still echoing in our hearts, and a serious decision about our faith. Those creatures under the water aren't just myths. They're whispers from the abyss, calling for the end of this world.
Iraq are facing water shortages as the region's longest river, the Euphrates, dries up.
One thing I keep seeing is this.
Экскаватором такую, ну я скажу, эмоции просто.
The Euphrates is drying up, not slowly, but like it's being drained by some unseen hand. In 2025, the river the Bible once called great is hitting rock bottom, uncovering layers of earth that haven't seen daylight in thousands of years. As the water pulls back, folks aren't just seeing rocks and mud. There's this eerie feeling that something is waking up. Do you think this is just ordinary climate change? The book of Revelation warned about it. 4 fallen angels bound under the Euphrates, tied up until the exact time that's set. Now, with water levels at record lows, that scary question comes up. What's still holding them back? And what happens if those chains start to loosen? Don't skip any details here, because right below, we're going to dive deep into the riverbed and figure it out, why those 4 fallen angels are locked down there, and who could have bound them for thousands of years, and how. Now, get yourself ready and steady, because the first stop on this journey is 1. Who are the 4 fallen angels bound there? You know, under the dark mud of the Euphrates River, the Bible says it's not just rocks and water sitting quietly down there. There are beings that have been chained up for thousands of years, not because they're weak, but because they're too dangerous to be loose. When Revelation talks about the 4 angels held captive, it's not some gentle metaphor. It's a chilling warning about ones who once stood very close to God's throne and then fell. So what makes an angel end up chained under the earth? Revelation 9:14-15 records that scary command when the voice from the golden altar says, "Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great Euphrates River." And the next verse makes it clear why they've been kept until now. Those 4 angels had been prepared for the hour, the day, the month, and the year to kill 1/3 of mankind. These aren't guardian angels. They're ones held back for a brutal time that's already set. Their timing isn't random. It's counting down. To understand who they are, we have to go back to the roots of the fall. Revelation 12:4 describes Satan dragging 1/3 of the stars from heaven and throwing them to the earth. A classic Bible picture of the rebellion in heaven. These angels once had position and glory, but they chose to betray God's order. They didn't just vanish or get destroyed right away. They were imprisoned, like especially dangerous criminals waiting for a public trial before all humanity. Jude 1-6 puts it plainly about their nature. The angels who did not keep their proper position but left their own dwelling. He has kept them in eternal chains in deep darkness for the judgment of the great day. Words like chains, deep darkness, waiting for judgment aren't for righteous angels. They're for ones who crossed a forbidden line and got involved with the human world in a way that couldn't be undone. Many scholars connect this group to the Watchers in the Book of Enoch, fallen angels who sinned by mixing with humans before the Great Flood. Even though Enoch isn't in the main Bible canon, that idea echoes strongly in Genesis 6:2, which says, The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves from those they chose. When the heavenly crossed that boundary, the result wasn't just personal sin. It messed up the whole created order, forcing God to step in with imprisonment and judgment. Ephesians 6:12 brings this truth closer to us than ever. Our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present darkness. Those bound under the Euphrates aren't old legends. They're part of the dark system still working behind human history. Have you ever felt like this world is being pulled by unseen forces? The Bible says that feeling isn't wrong. What makes it even more unsettling is that they're not locked up forever. Revelation makes it clear there'll come a moment when they're released, not because God loses control, but because the plan of judgment moves to a new phase. When the sixth trumpet sounds, these long-bound ones will become tools for one of the worst disasters ever. 200 million troops, fire, smoke, sulfur, and death, spreading like an unstoppable shadow. Some folks say that's just symbolic. But 2 Peter 2-4 pushes back hard. God did not spare the angels who sinned, but threw them down into hell and committed them to chains of deepest darkness to be kept until judgment. Symbols don't need chains. Metaphors don't need to be locked up. Only truly dangerous beings get chained until the right time. And then we come to today. In 2025, the Euphrates has dropped to its lowest level in nearly a century. The river bottom is showing. Ancient ruins are coming up, and unease is spreading across the Middle East. Do you think that's just coincidence? Or a reminder that what's been hidden is starting to show? When the Bible says to stay alert, maybe that's not gentle advice. Matthew 18:10 says, "The holy angels are always free to stand before the Father in heaven." In contrast, the ones under the Euphrates are bound. That difference is enough to tell us who they are. Not protectors, not messengers of peace, but fallen angels kept for the darkest hour in human history. And this message doesn't come to scare us into panic, but to wake us up. Because if the enemy is real, then getting spiritually ready isn't optional anymore. Mark 13:33 warns, "Be on guard, keep awake, and pray, for you don't know when that time will come." The question isn't whether those 4 angels are real anymore, but if their day comes, are you ready? So here's another question that comes up. 2. What's holding them back? The scary question isn't who is being held anymore, but what has the power to keep them bound for thousands of years? It's not iron chains made by people, not huge rocks or the depths of the earth. What's holding them is an invisible force, quiet but heavy and suffocating, the judging will of God Almighty. A command that doesn't need guards, can't be fought against, forcing the darkness to wait for the exact time already set. The Bible doesn't describe those chains as ordinary physical things, but it talks about them so seriously that we can't brush it off. 2 Peter 2-4 says clearly, "For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment." Chains of darkness aren't just poetic words. They're about being completely stripped of freedom, put under the total control of the Creator. Do you see it? The darkness here isn't just a place. It's being cut off from the light and heavenly power. In Jewish Christian tradition, chains are always linked to judgment, not immediate punishment. Those who are chained aren't destroyed right away. They're held back, waiting for the right moment. Jude 1-6 confirms that. "And the angels who did not stay within their own position of authority, but left their proper dwelling, he has kept in eternal chains under gloomy darkness until the judgment of the great day." Here, eternal doesn't mean endless time. It means this holding is unbreakable until the Lord Himself gives a different order. This shows a truth worth thinking about. Darkness isn't free at all, no matter how chaotic and fierce it seems. Every fallen power is limited, controlled, bound by a strength far greater than them. Why hasn't the world completely fallen apart yet, even as sin and violence keep growing? The Bible answers, because those chains are still holding. Revelation 9:14 reveals the most chilling detail about this holding. When the command rings out, release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. Just one short line, but it shows there's an unseen force keeping them back, and that force only lets go when a word comes from heaven. Not war, not people, not natural disasters, but an order from God's throne. Revelation 20:1-2 helps us understand the nature of these chains better. Then I saw an angel coming down from heaven, holding in his hand the key to the bottomless pit and a great chain. And he seized the dragon, that ancient serpent, who is the devil and Satan, and bound him. If Satan, the leader of the rebellion, can be bound with a spiritual chain, then it's no surprise that 4 fallen angels are held. These chains don't depend on the strength of the one bound. They depend on the power of the one who holds the key. Now let's look at the Euphrates today. In 2025, this river is drying up at an alarming rate, with water levels down about 27%, exposing riverbed areas not seen in modern memory. A lot of folks say it's just climate change, the result of dams for power and poor water management. But do you notice something odd? Why is the Euphrates, the very river named in Revelation, becoming the center of this unprecedented drying? The Bible doesn't say the water dropping is what releases the chains, but it does show a frightening overlap between the timing and the place. Since the chains are invisible, the signs of change don't have to be obvious either. A river running low might not free anything on its own, but it could be a warning that the holding order is moving into its final stage. Do you feel like time is speeding up, like everything's accelerating? Some argue the chains are just a metaphor, that it's all symbolic. But remember, the Bible uses very specific language when talking about this holding. The key, the pit, the chain, the command to release. It's a sequence of actions, not vague pictures. When the Bible means metaphor, it makes it clear. Here, it's describing heaven's control mechanism over hell. The most frightening thing isn't that the chains exist, but that one day they'll be released, not because they're getting weak, but because the plan of judgment has to be completed. Revelation 3:10 records a promise full of concern. I will keep you from the hour of trial that is coming on the whole world. The question is, who will be kept safe, and who will have to face it? God's chains are proof of his patience, but also a warning about the limit of time. As the Euphrates dries up, as the world shakes with unrest, the question isn't whether the chains are real anymore. It's, if the day comes when they're released, which side are you on? The next part will take us to an even more urgent question. When will that time arrive? 3. When will the 4 fallen angels be released and wipe out a third of humanity? The timing is what scares people the most. The Bible doesn't answer with feelings or guesses. It gives a cold, precise structure: the hour, the day, the month, and the year. Revelation 9:15 leaves no room for chance. It's a moment set in advance, locked into heaven's schedule, waiting for the exact second to happen. What's really frightening is this: a fixed time doesn't mean it's far off. In the Bible, big time markers are always hidden until the signs start coming together. Daniel 12:4 says clearly that the prophecy would be sealed until the end times, and only then would people run to and fro and knowledge increase. That means when we start seeing the pieces fit, we're already in that phase. Revelation tells us the 4 angels are released at the 6th trumpet, right before the 7th one, when God's kingdom is announced openly. This puts their release in the final climax of human history. Not the Middle Ages, not last century, but when world systems start shaking all at once, climate going haywire, politics cracking apart, and natural signs going beyond normal cycles. That's where the Euphrates River steps out of its geography role and becomes a time marker. This river has flowed through thousands of years of history, watching empires rise and fall, but it had never dried to alarming levels like in recent years. When the Bible places the angels' prison at the Euphrates, It's not random. It's an anchor point for the end times. Since after 2010, and especially speeding up from 2020 to now, the Euphrates has been shrinking at a rate never seen in recorded history. Rainfall has dropped sharply, reservoirs hit bottom, and sections that used to be deep now show cracked mud bottoms. This isn't just an environmental crisis. It's the physical movement of a prophecy that stood still for nearly 2,000 years. When a prophecy starts moving, the Bible calls that the season, not some distant time. Matthew 24-32 uses the fig tree. When its branches get tender and leaves come out, you know summer's near. No one needs the exact date, but no one can deny the season has changed. The Euphrates is the fig tree for Revelation 9. When this river dries up, the prophetic hourglass starts running backward, not counting up, but counting down. So what time frame is opening up? Based on the Bible's structure, the converging signs, and the unprecedented speed of global events, we're not talking about many generations from now. What's happening fits the frame of the last generation, even a decisive decade, where events aren't spaced decades apart, but just a few years, or even a few seasons. This doesn't contradict Matthew 24-36, where Jesus says no one knows the day or hour. Knowing the season isn't knowing the day. Knowing a storm's coming doesn't mean knowing the exact minute of the first thunder. But seeing dark clouds gather and still saying clear skies is just fooling yourself. Some folks try to push this prophecy back to the past, saying it all happened in the first century. But Revelation 1:1 says, clearly these are things that must soon take place. And the global scale of the sixth trumpet, where a third of mankind is affected, never happened in ancient history. The Euphrates never dried like it is now, and the world was never connected enough for a regional event to spread globally in days. So, the most honest answer, without dodging or exaggerating, is this: we're living in the direct lead-up to that set moment. Not next century, not some vague future, but the time the Bible calls at hand, where all the signs are speeding up together. When the Bible says that day will come like a thief, 2 Peter 3:10, it doesn't mean no signs. It means it'll come when people are most complacent. The Euphrates drying doesn't shout with thunder. It whispers year by year, season by season. But anyone listening will get it. The clock's wound up, and time isn't standing still anymore. This isn't meant to spread pointless fear, but to wake us up. Because when the time is fixed, the only thing left in our hands isn't delaying it, it's getting ready. So now we've covered the timing the Bible points to for the moment the 4 fallen angels are released and take a third of humanity's lives. But do you wonder where these 4 fallen angels are bound right now, chained somewhere in the winding Euphrates River? Right after this, we'll dive into decoding that important question together. 4. The place where the 4 fallen angels are held at the Euphrates River. The 4 fallen angels aren't locked up anywhere else. They're right under the Euphrates River, in the stretch near Lake Tharthar, between Baghdad and Mosul in Iraq. That's the middle part of this great river, a spot that used to mark the old border between empires and even between good and evil. According to Revelation 9:14, this is the great river where the 4 angels are bound, waiting for that exact hour, day, month, and year to be set free. The Euphrates has a history going back thousands of years. It's the cradle of civilization, flowing through the Garden of Eden and right in the heart of ancient Babylon, where people rebelled against God. It's rare for the river to stand for God's power. But now, the Tharthar area is turning into a real-life example. The drought in 2025 dropped water levels by up to 27%, uncovering old riverbanks, sand islands, and mysterious caves at the bottom. You might find it surprising, these ancient structures coming to light aren't just old ruins. In the light of prophecy, they're signs pointing to the spot holding supernatural beings. In theology, the Euphrates is seen as a supernatural prison. The 4 fallen angels are bound at the great river Euphrates, down in the riverbed, in hidden currents that ordinary folks can't reach. Scholars from places like Hermeneutics, Stack Exchange, and the Institute for Creation Research point out that this isn't just a symbol, it's a real location where God's power holds back dark forces until the appointed time. When the chains come off, this place will turn into a gateway for an army of demons, ready to bring disaster like what's described in Revelation 9:17-19. Horses with fire, lion heads, scorpion tails, and the power to kill a third of mankind. The 2025 drought makes that sense of dread feel closer to home. Lake Tharthar, one of the main reservoirs for the Euphrates, has dried up so much that big parts of the river bottom are showing, looking like natural dungeons. This isn't random. It's like the universe's hourglass flipping over, warning that the release is getting near. When you look at those exposed banks and imagine the 4 fallen angels still chained below, you really feel how real the prophecy is, and why Revelation 9:14 stresses the great river, not just any river, but the line between God's order and dark chaos. Revelation 9:14-15 makes it clear, and the 4 angels who had been prepared for that hour, day, month, and year were released to kill a third of mankind. The Euphrates around Tharthar becomes the physical reality for this prophecy. Jeremiah 50-38 also reminds us, a drought against its waters, that they may be dried up, as if confirming that the low water in 2025 is a living warning, not something abstract. It's not just a location. The Euphrates is a symbol too. This place has seen empires destroyed, and now it's holding supernatural beings. It links the past and future, the real world and the divine, making it hard to ignore. Reports from CSIS predict that if climate change keeps going, the Euphrates could dry up completely by 2040, exposing the whole riverbed like a prison, and adding to the feeling that every Bible prediction has a basis. Some skeptics say the Bible is just using symbols, but with record low water levels, sand islands, and caves appearing, plus climate and archaeology studies, we see this could really be the physical spot the prophecy means. There's no room left for pure theory. Nature and theology are coming together, giving a warning we can't overlook. The Euphrates around Lake Tharthar is the heart of this divine prison, where the 4 fallen angels are chained, waiting for Judgment Day. The 2025 drought isn't just a natural disaster, it's a sign that time is shifting, a reminder that the great cleansing is getting close. Pay attention to these signs, pray, and get ready, because this isn't just a place, it's where God's order meets the darkness, and every drop of water gone echoes the message. The moment is near. There's something. Why did God pull them down to prison and keep them locked up for all these years? What terrible sins did they commit? Come with me as we go back and dig deeper into answering those questions. 5. Why are the 4 fallen angels kept bound under the dark Euphrates River? The question, why, is always the trickiest one, because it gets right to the heart of God's judgment. Those 4 fallen angels weren't locked away by mistake or for some small slip-up. It was because of a deliberate betrayal against God's order. They had been put in charge of watching over things, but they crossed a line that couldn't be crossed, bringing chaos into the very creation they were supposed to protect. The book of Jude, chapter 1, verse 6, spells it out plainly. The angels who did not keep their positions of authority, but abandoned their proper dwelling. This wasn't just a temporary act of disobedience. It was giving up the role God gave them, breaking the heavenly structure. 2 Peter, chapter 2, verse 4, goes on to say they were thrown into darkness, chained up, waiting for Judgment Day. The reason they're held there is because of how dangerous they are to people. Genesis, chapter 6, verse 2, shows the scary depth of their sin. The sons of God saw that the daughters of humans were beautiful, and they married any of them they chose. In Jewish and Christian tradition, especially from the book of Enoch, they're called the Watchers, guardians who went bad. They didn't just mix with humans, they taught forbidden knowledge and twisted the order of creation. When heaven wrongly broke into the human world, it led to a messed up world and the Great Flood. That's why holding them isn't just punishment, it's protection too. If they weren't chained, that chaos would have come back a lot sooner. God locked them up, not out of fear, but to give history more time for grace, until the final judgment comes right on schedule. This ties back to the Euphrates River. It's no accident that their prison is under the river that was once the heart of Babylon, a symbol of pride and rebellion. From the watchers before the flood to Babylon later, there's a clear thread: people taking knowledge against God's will and using it to lift themselves up. The Euphrates marks the spot for that chain of betrayal. So the drought on the Euphrates in 2025 isn't just some weather event. Reports say it would take way more water to fix the ecosystem. And the question isn't just why the shortage, but why creation is groaning so much. Romans chapter 8, verse 22 says the whole creation has been groaning under the weight of sin. This drought is part of that groan, showing the buildup of long disobedience. What's even scarier is this: as human sin grows, the reason for keeping those dark forces bound starts to waver, not because the chains are getting weak, but because judgment is getting closer. The holding was meant to delay total destruction too soon, but when the world nears the endpoint, that delay isn't needed anymore in God's plan. Some folks think these angels are just righteous ones sent to punish, but the Bible never chains up holy angels. Matthew chapter 18, verse 10 shows they're free to serve. Only the ones who committed serious sin, crossing their very nature, get chained. Their destructive role when released just proves they're fallen. So the Euphrates drought isn't random coincidence. It's a moral sign, showing the link between human sin and a broken order. As the river dries, it doesn't just show mud at the bottom. It raises the question: what have we learned from the Watcher's story? Or are we repeating it with technology, power, and pride? The reason those 4 angels are bound is to stop total collapse too early while getting ready for judgment at the right time. They're proof that God doesn't tolerate betrayal, but He's not in a rush either. Everything has its time, even punishment. The binding is fair, and their release will be the natural result of unrepented sin. The Euphrates drying up is a reminder that history isn't just drifting, it's heading toward a set climax. And before the great cleansing, the call isn't blind fear, it's repentance, turning back and staying alert. Because the reason they're bound is also why we still have a chance to change today. Under all the pieces that have been uncovered, a chilling picture is starting to take shape. It's no longer just scattered guesses. It's a tight chain of logic, heavy and impossible to turn back. What we've talked about isn't really about curiosity over angels or demons. It's about the exact time, place, reason, and purpose of a judgment that was planned long before human history even began. We've seen who is being held, not some nameless evil spirits, but beings who were once trusted to guard things, who stood close to the holiest order. When they get released isn't random, it's at the precise hour, day, month, and year locked into God's plan. Where they're locked up isn't some vague symbol, it's under the great Euphrates River, the boundary line of history, civilization, and rebellion. And why they're imprisoned? For a betrayal that went way beyond any mercy, threatening the very existence of creation itself. When these 5 parts come together, it's no longer a bunch of separate stories. It turns into one giant clock that's ticking. Every event on Earth, every shift in nature, they don't stand alone anymore. They all point the same way. Time is no longer on humanity's side. The hourglass has been flipped, and the sand is falling faster than ever. The Euphrates plays a central role in this picture, not just because of geography, but because of its spiritual memory. This is the river mentioned from the very beginning of creation, the border of the Garden of Eden, but also the cradle of Babylon, the symbol of defiance and pride. Genesis 2:14 says, "The name of the third river is the Hiddekel. It flows east of Assyria." From that start, the Euphrates has carried both life and the seeds of rebellion. Now, as that river dries up in an unusual way, the mask of time is being pulled off. The riverbed is exposing ancient cave structures, deep carved stones that look like they weren't shaped by water, but by some deliberate force holding things in. People talk about winged angel-like statues thousands of years old, precious metals buried deep in the mud, strange roaring sounds coming up from the ground as the water pulls back. Science tries to explain it, but the unease lingers, because what's coming to light seems like it didn't want to be seen. Revelation 9:14-15 doesn't leave much room for guesswork. Release the 4 angels who are bound at the great river Euphrates. And then, so the 4 angels, who had been prepared for the hour, day, month, and year, were released to kill a third of mankind. This isn't gentle symbolic language. It's the language of action, timing, and real consequences. So the drying of the Euphrates isn't just an environmental crisis. It's a sign of a major shift. Jeremiah 50:38 once warned, "A drought is upon her waters, and they will be dried up." Those words echo across the centuries, as the river that once fed an entire civilization now sits empty, silent, and cracked. All of this doesn't stand alone. It's part of the bigger Bible picture of the last days. Daniel 12:1 describes, "There shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation." That trouble doesn't come out of nowhere. It's announced by signs piling up from the heavens down to the earth. Jesus himself said in Luke 21:25, "There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth nations will be in anguish and perplexity. The Euphrates drying up, land cracking open, strange sounds rising from below. It all joins that uneasy chorus. Not to stir up pointless fear, but to wake up those still sleeping in a false sense of security." The scariest part isn't the release of these bound beings. It's how close humanity has come to the point where that binding isn't needed anymore. 2 Peter 3:10 warns, "The day of the Lord will come like a thief. No sirens, no public countdown, just the moment the door closes." Looking at the whole picture, the Great Flood isn't just ancient history anymore. It's a precedent. The first cleansing came by water. The next will come by deliberate judgment, in order, at the set time. Just as God spoke to Noah before the rain fell, He's speaking to this generation through signs that can't be ignored. This final picture isn't meant to spread despair. It's meant to ask a question we can't dodge. Where do we stand on God's clock? When the Euphrates runs dry, when hidden things come into the light, when the time spoken of is no longer some day, but the hour, day, month, and year, silence becomes the most dangerous choice. Humanity is getting very close to the threshold of a second great cleansing. Not because God is slow, but because He's been patient long enough. And when the final curtain goes up, there won't be any question about whether this is real, only whether we've prepared ourselves. After everything that's been revealed, the picture is clear now. It's not fuzzy anymore. Through 5 parts connected tightly together, we see one main truth running all the way through. Those 4 fallen angels didn't just vanish or get destroyed. No, they've been held captive by God's own chains right there at the Euphrates River. And when that river dried up in an unusual way back in 2025, the sign wasn't some far-off warning anymore. It was like an alarm bell ringing loud and clear right in front of everyone. What's happening these days isn't just by chance, and it's sure not a bunch of meaningless coincidences. From the exact time that was set long ago, the specific place named, all the way to the unforgivable betrayal, every detail matches what the Bible said thousands of years back. The Great Cleansing isn't some scary story to frighten folks. It's a fair judgment that's already been announced, just waiting for the moment to break the seals. The most important thing right now isn't arguing about whether it's right or wrong. It's about how each one of us responds to these signs that are plain to see. When the Lord warns us, He's not looking for curiosity. He's looking for us to wake up. When nature shakes and things that were hidden start coming out, it's not to make us feel hopeless. It's to open a way back to Him. The most urgent step we can take isn't to fear what's coming, but to fix our hearts. Repent while there's still time. Pray while the door of grace is open, and choose to live in the light instead of going along with the darkness. Put your full trust in God, not just in words, but by living each day according to His truth. Don't keep this message to yourself. In a world full of chaos and lies, sharing good things calls to wake up and hope in the Lord. That's how we stand strong in the storm. A gentle reminder, a sincere share. Sometimes that's the lifeline for a lost soul. If you feel that tug in your heart, leave a prayer right here, or share your own thoughts and views on what's going on. Not to argue, but to stay alert together, to stand in the truth together when time feels shorter than we think. And if this touches you, show your support by hitting like, sharing with folks you care about, and subscribing to the channel so you don't miss the next parts. Every bit of interaction helps the channel grow and spreads this warning and hope to even more people. Thanks for sticking around to the very end. May God's light guide you in the days ahead, as the world changes faster than ever. Have you ever wondered if all these strange things happening one after another around us are direct warnings from God, urging people to get ready for the end times, that moment when everything will change forever? While the world keeps spinning with its busy modern life, these unusual signs suddenly explode, coming fast and thick, not giving anyone a chance to ignore them. From a winged angel falling into a small town, leaving the crowd stunned and filming in panic, to soft golden rays breaking through thick clouds thousands of feet up, showing the thin line between heaven and earth. Over the Euphrates River in the Middle East, thunder roared like an ancient trumpet, lighting up a mighty image of Jesus in the sky, while nature suddenly went dead quiet and animals froze solid for 7 chilling minutes. Deep under the river, man-made tunnels with ancient Levitical priest symbols have been uncovered, leading to huge stone statues of winged figures chained up in the dark. These events aren't random. They're powerful signs that God is unleashing as history and prophecy collide, and time feels like it's running out. But what's really behind all these things? Keep going deeper, because what's about to be revealed could change the way you see the world forever. Don't look away. The truth is waiting right below. And so, you don't have to wait any longer. Let's jump right into a few of these amazing events. 1. A woman with wings like an angel suddenly falls to earth. Something shocking has come down from the sky, leaving witnesses stunned and starting a worldwide debate that's still going strong. A woman with wings like an angel has landed in our world, not in some old legend, but right here in real life. Like a stark sign from above. There was no thunder to warn anyone, no big ceremony, just that moment when the air seemed to rip open, making everyone who saw it wonder if they just witnessed something that shouldn't show up in our time. It happened in a small park next to a forest, in a quiet town in the Midwest of the United States, where afternoons usually mean just the wind rustling through the trees and kids playing on the grass. But that peace was suddenly broken when a figure plunged down from above, freezing everything in place, and the familiar calm was gone for good. The woman was wearing a pure white dress, spotless, no dirt or tears, as if it had never touched this world. Her large wings, covered in feathers, spread out wide on instinct, landing on an open patch of ground in a strangely gentle way. The crowd gathered around in a panic, phones held high, cameras shaking, whispers spreading like wildfire. When she realized she was surrounded, she gently raised her wings to shield herself. Not aggressive, not attacking, just a calm and serious look in her eyes that reminded people of the unusual silence mentioned in ancient biblical lands. That moment made many think of the book of Revelation, chapter 12, verse 9, where the Bible describes the fall from heaven to earth. And the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent, called the devil, and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him. This story isn't just about a war in heaven. It's also a warning that things cast out from the heavens won't vanish. They might appear among people at a time that's already set. Of course, the skeptics spoke up right away. They called it a hoax, some fancy costume, a product of imagination and modern tech. But the eyewitnesses insisted those wings moved naturally, not mechanically. No wires, no CGI signs, and videos shot from different angles only made scientific explanations seem awkward. In the end, who is she? A fallen angel thrown down like in Revelation? Or a messenger sent to wake up humanity? That question challenges how we think about God's intervention and forces each of us to come up with our own answer. But if this really is the first sign of fallen beings, then what's still hiding up in the sky, waiting for its turn to appear? And is the world ready for that? 2. Heavenly light, shining through the clouds. High above the earth, someone captured a breathtaking sight, one that doesn't just catch your eye, but touches your soul. It lights up that thin line between heaven and us, like it was never meant to stay closed forever. This wasn't seen from the ground, not with mountains or city buildings in the way, but from up in the air, in that place where people leave the earth for a little while and brush right up against the sky. From thousands of feet up on a regular commercial flight crossing the Pacific Northwest, where huge layers of clouds stretch out like a white ocean, this scene suddenly appeared to the passengers. No warning, no bad weather, just a moment when light from above shot straight down. It left many people speechless, hands shaking as they reached for the airplane window, like they were seeing something not meant for ordinary folks. The fluffy white clouds were bunched together like giant cotton balls, then suddenly pierced by sharp golden rays that were almost scary in how clear they were. The light didn't scatter everywhere. It poured down in straight, orderly columns, on purpose, creating a scene that felt both majestic and holy. Many described it as the gates of heaven cracking open a little, giving quick glimpses of glory and making the line between heaven and earth feel so thin it took your breath away. The picture right away brings to mind the book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 55, when an ordinary man was allowed to look through that invisible curtain. But he, full of the Holy Spirit, looked up to heaven and saw the glory of God, and Jesus standing at the right hand of God. In the Bible, moments like this are never just random. They happen when a bigger message is being sent, when heaven and earth meet for a short time. Scientists quickly stepped in and called it an atmospheric optical phenomenon, sunlight passing through clouds at a rare angle. But that explanation feels flat next to the details that give people chills. The rays had clear structure, stayed long and steady in a way that's unusual, and dozens of witnesses all talked about the same deep peace they felt, like fear, noise, and even time itself stopped in that moment. So is this just nature showing off one of its rare beauties? Or is heavenly light trying to signal something much bigger? A reminder that the sky isn't as silent as we think. The debate is still going strong, spreading across social media and faith forums. But if this light really is an invitation from God, what might come down through those clouds next? And could it mark the final awakening of mankind? Or is he purposely letting his chosen children see the world he created thousands of years ago? What do you think? Let me know your answer in the comments below. 3. Unusual lightning over the Euphrates sky. Across the ancient Euphrates River in Mesopotamia, that's modern-day Iraq, the sky suddenly lit up with fierce bolts of lightning that broke all the usual rules of nature. They struck down not in random chaos, but with a kind of angry purpose, like someone pounding hard on the door to the human world. This isn't some strange land to the Bible. It's the place that saw empires rise and fall, where prophecies were planted thousands of years ago.